Welcome back, everyone, to the Foundry by Forge College. So today, we're essentially putting on our virtual hard hats and learning how to construct structurally sound NFT metadata. Because, let's be honest, if you want your digital assets to actually stand the test of time and remain perfectly intact, you are in exactly the right place. Okay, let's dive into this. Just imagine dropping millions of dollars on this absolutely breathtaking digital masterpiece, right? You wake up one morning, open your wallet, and boom, you get a 404 error, the dreaded broken link. It is literally the ultimate Web3 horror story, and unfortunately, it happens way more often than you think. When your token points to a dead link, the asset's value basically just evaporates into thin air. Poof, gone.
Now, in our previous lesson, we checked the plumbing, so to speak, when we covered testing and debugging transaction chains. Today, here is our blueprint. 1. The broken link problem. 2. Immutable foundations. 3. Durability layers. 4. Indirection. And 5. Our blueprint workflow.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the broken link problem, location versus content. To really understand the root cause of the disappearing JPEG, we've got to look at why links break in the first place. See, traditional web links use location addressing. That's your standard HTTP URL. It points to where a file lives on a specific server. It's exactly like renting a temporary billboard. If the company hosting that billboard goes out of business, your art comes down. No way around it. But the Web3 solution? That's content addressing. This uses what we call CIDs. Instead of pointing to where a file lives, it points to what the file is. It acts as an unchangeable, cryptographic fingerprint of the data itself. So even if the original server completely explodes, as long as someone, somewhere, is hosting that file, your asset can be perfectly retrieved. It's a real game changer. Moving right along to Section 2, immutable foundations. And what exactly is a CID? So what exactly is that magical fingerprint we just talked about? Well, a content identifier, or CID, is a cryptographic hash of your metadata. It basically serves as its permanent canonical address, totally independent of where it's actually stored. Think of this CID as the unchangeable concrete foundation of our entire NFT architecture. Once that concrete is poured, you cannot alter its shape. The data literally is the address.
But because CIDs are so incredibly precise, we really have to measure twice before we pour that concrete. And this brings us to a super important concept called canonicalization. Canonicalization is just the process of using deterministic formatting to ensure identical JSON data always yields the exact same CID. Here's the thing. If you use a standard JSON formatting tool, random spaces or the order of your keys might shuffle slightly. And even if the data means the exact same thing, a tiny invisible space changes the hash and you get a completely different CID. So using canonicalization ensures your foundation is perfectly predictable every single time. Let's move on to Section 3, durability layers, or how we go about reinforcing the walls. Now that our foundation is poured, we need to reinforce the walls, right? Having a CID is brilliant, but the data still needs to be physically stored somewhere out there in the world. So let's contrast our trade-offs here. If you just store your metadata on a single IPFS node, well, it's low cost and fast, but there is a massive implication. You face a super high risk of disappearance if that one single node goes offline. To reinforce this, we use pinning clusters. This offers moderate cost and fast retrieval, heavily improving availability, which is great, especially for short-term NFT drops. But for the absolute ultimate reinforced walls, we look at Filecoin archival deals. Sure, this is a higher cost and it's slower to retrieve, but it guarantees high durability over contractual periods with actual cryptographic verifiable proofs. That is your absolute go-to for long-term provenance. It's also really vital to realize that these durability choices directly impact retrieval latency, which is honestly just a fancy way of saying how fast your users actually see the artwork. Public gateways use HTTP caching, making them super fast and great for general public access. Direct IPFS nodes are peer-to-peer, which is highly resilient, but, the speed can vary. And for massive, high-traffic drops, you'll probably want to layer on a content delivery network, or CDN, to serve those CIDs instantly. Just remember, a Filecoin archive provides ultimate permanence, but it naturally takes a bit longer to fetch than a pinned CDN gateway. It's all about trade-offs.
And that brings us to Section 4, indirection. Basically, where do we put the doors? If immutability is our concrete foundation, indirection is asking where to put the doors. And by the way, in Forge College's advanced smart contract programs, we actually spend a lot of time on this exact dilemma, weighing strict immutability against flexibility. Because what if the artwork needs to evolve or you need to patch a display URL? Well, you have two choices. Option A is a new CID. This requires minting a totally new metadata object and spending gas to update the on-chain pointer. It's pure, strict immutability. Option B is indirection. Here, your on-chain pointer references a mutable off-chain resolver. So the crucial point is that this saves gas and lets you effortlessly update the destination URL. But, and this is a pretty big but, it adds a layer of trust. You are effectively building a door into your metadata structure, meaning users now have to trust the key holder of that door.
Finally, we reach section 5, our blueprint workflow. Let's put it all together.
So let's see how all this builds into an actual development process. We're going to walk through the JavaScript logic step by step to see how we turn these abstract concepts into a verifiable deterministic workflow. Step 1. Canonicalize your JSON to get that perfectly stable string. Step 2. Convert it to a buffer because IPFS stores binary content under the hood. Step 3. Add it to IPFS via the ipfs-http-client. And crucially, step 4. Verify the fetched CID by reading it back and confirming it matches the original. Honestly, it's your ultimate sanity check before going live.
And this brilliantly illustrates a quick technical best practice for your codec selection. When you are generating your CID, use CID version 1 and DayJSON. Why? Well, because it prefers modern, future-compatible CIDs and allows for super smooth traversals through IPFS-DIG APIs. It ensures your metadata remains self-describing and interoperable for years and years to come. To wrap up our construction site today, here is your core structural checklist. First up, pin your metadata to at least 2 independent endpoints to guarantee absolute availability during your drop. Second, submit archival deals for anything requiring long-term legal or historical records. And third, keep a durable off-chain index mapping your token IDs to their respective CIDs and pinning status. So we've just built an incredible, indestructible house for our metadata. But, it leaves us with one final, highly provocative question. How do we strictly lock the doors and secure these pointers against malicious actors? We'll tackle exactly that in our next explainer, Designing Secure Storage for NFT Metadata, which is a key part of integrating IPFS and Filecoin for decentralized storage solutions. Until then, keep building, and be sure to visit forge.college to learn more about the subject and dive deeper into all of our Web3 resources. See you next time.